Good day, my name is Jerry Ashley Dixon, and this is my muted group analysis of the movie 9 to 5, the 1980 comedy film that starred Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, and Dabney Coleman. The movie tells the story of three working women who are tired of their sexist, misogynistic, and dismissive boss. They set out to do something about it. The film grossed over $100 million and propelled Dolly Parton from successful country music artist to pop culture icon. This movie is a great artifact to analyze for muted group theory. This concept is a communication theory that states certain marginalized groups are silenced within a dominant society that is structured by and for the dominant group. In Intercultural Muted Group Theory Griffin on page 460, it states, according to Crameray and other feminist theorists, women's words are discounted in our society. Women's thoughts are devalued. When women try to overcome this inequality, the masculine control of communication places them at a tremendous disadvantage. A great example of this in 9 to 5 is when Violet, played by Lily Tomlin, is showing the new girl Judy, played by Jane Fonda, around at the office. Violet is familiarizing Judy with who everyone in the office is. In describing her boss, Mr. Hart, played by Dabney Coleman, she also mentions he's the new vice president of the company. Violet states at minutes 6:38 through 6:43, "I remember when he was just a management trainee. In fact, I'm the one who trained him." This is a great example of how many women feel passed over and leapfrogged over at times by men, especially in the workforce. There is a scene in 9 to 5 where Dorley, played by Dolly Parton, who is Mr. Hart's secretary, is called into his office to take notes for a letter he wants written up. His purpose, though, is to knock his pens container onto the floor at Dorley's feet, and then as she's picking them up, he stands over her trying to peer down into the top of her dress. The scene continues, and at minute 14:51 through 15:10, Mr. Hart states, "Don't you understand I'm crazy about you? You're all I think about." Then Dorley states, "Mr. Hart, I've told you before, I'm a married woman." He continues to harass her, and he inadvertently knocks both of them to the floor. This is an uncomfortable situation, to say the least. Dorley wants to obviously remain on good terms with her boss, yet this behavior from her supervisor puts her in a bad situation. In the video muted group interview, Charis Crameray states at minute 3:16 through 3:34 concerning studying muted group theory, they're not looking at what's happening in relationships that aren't symmetrical, that are unequal. And if you take a look at that, then you have to start taking a look at things like exploitation, manipulation. You have to start taking a look at what happens with power differences, and you have to start talking about the power. This previously mentioned scene exemplifies this concept of what many women face when having to navigate relationships with men, especially when there's a definite power difference. There's a fascinating observation made of the differentiating cultures, if you will, of men and women in this film. In the video Fundamental Aspects of Culture, starting at minute 103 through 115, Mr. Gray states, speaking about culture, on the other hand, the separation of people into groups may inhibit cooperation on large-scale projects or lead to unproductive or even dangerous levels of intergroup competition. This is a foreshadowing of what is to come as 9 to 5 unfolds the story, with the two culture groups being represented as their boss, Mr. Hart, representing men, and the group of women, worker bees, as the counterculture of females. As Mr. Hart separates himself as above the muted group of women, he actually does damage to himself, causing a bit of a coup. Another concept I would like to touch on is accommodation theory. In the video Howie Giles on communication at 16 seconds through 48 seconds, Mr. Giles summarizes accommodation theory as needing to adapt to our environments. And one of the ways we adapt to our environments, one of the ways we do that is, as communicators, to adapt, accommodate to each other, be it in dress style, be it in speech, be it in texting. And sometimes we get closer to each other in our communications. Other times we move away from each other to varying degrees. And so the theory really is all about addressing when we do this, how we make our adjustments, why we make our adjustments, and the social consequences of making those adjustments. Giles uses the example of dialect changes for accommodation theory, but in the film, it was blatantly on display with the character Violet and the way she communicates with her boss, the adjustments she makes in her word choices. In the beginning, she has to talk a certain way and choose her words carefully to derive some level of respect from him. It is entertaining to watch as the movie unfolds and her adaptation process that takes place as she changes her goals as well as even her role within the workplace. The last concept relating to muted group theory I want to explore is the spiral of silence. In the video Glenn Lowry, The Spiral of Silence and Social Justice, he states at minute 105 through minute 122 that German political scientist Elizabeth Noel Neumann coined a term that describes this phenomenon, the spiral of silence. In a spiral of silence, when holding a certain view obtains a stigma for fear of being seen as having that view, people will stay silent. This was exemplified in 9 to 5 at minute 8:11 to minute 8:30. After Mr. Hart has given a speech to Judy and Violet all about teamwork and being the weakest link, he states, "Violet, my wife's coming later on. I'd like to get her a present. Could you pick her out a nice scarf?" Violet replies, "Mr. Hart, we've been through this before. I don't think it's my place to shop." Mr. Hart proceeds to chastise Violet for not being on the team and having the teamwork he just mentioned. He somewhat threatens her desire to be promoted with showing this teamwork, even though it is obviously out of the realm of her job responsibilities. This relates to muted group theory in that many women, especially in the disproportionate balance of power situations, feel the need to not rock the boat, nor to speak out if they feel disrespected. If they are viewed as the whiny woman, then they can be passed over for promotions even when they truly know what is being said or done is wrong. The movie ends with the classic fairy tale ending where all the women's dreams come true, they're finally heard and seen, and can function freely. It would be such an ideal world if men and women could coexist better and function together, communicating freely and equally, all the while never misunderstanding one another, nor feeling silenced and separated.